Welcome back to the Oliver Lind channel, and this is the third video of Trump, the Magnificence of America. Nobody's a picture perfect. And I've just come to the conclusion I'm going to have to do a total of 5 instead of 4. My phone keeps stopping recording at 33 minutes. So we're going to have to break the end of the book down into 3 videos. So this is the third of 5 videos. And this chart right here, if you write that down, that can help you in figuring out a lot of things in life. And I'll give you some examples here in the book. And some which, will lead you on the way to becoming an advanced holographic program independent analyst. And in future videos after this book, we're going to work on the holographic sports interpreter. And I'll show you the crazy things that play out in sports. It's been my laboratory for like 30 years. But anyway, back to the book, Trump, the Magnificence of America. Nobody's a picture perfect. Chapter 6. Quantum level explanation. This is the fun part of the book, looking at Mr. Trump and this crazy election as no one else will. It will all sound strange at first, but I think most will catch on when they do the experiment in the next chapter. If you were to watch, say, a hologram of a business meeting on YouTube, that is a simple hologram, and visually speaking, since we can only see 0.05% of the total visible spectrum, that holographic business meeting cannot be differentiated from a real business meeting that you can also watch on YouTube. A simple hologram, when in its presence, can have someone pass their hand through it and feel nothing. A more complex hologram is the holographic keyboard anyone can purchase and use on their iPhone or use on their phone, tablet, etc. The most complex holograms can walk, talk, laugh, cry, etc. That's us. The law of vibration states all matter is moving or vibrating all of the time. In electromedicine, frequencies are used to destroy viruses, molds, etc. by achieving equilibrium with the virus, mold, etc., causing the cell to implode, thus destroying the mold, virus, or whatever pathogen is targeted. All matter in the universe, our bodies included, according to condensed matter physics, when broken down to its base components, is nothing more than frequencies and phonon sound. Before we move ahead into the election and Mr. Trump himself, a brief explanation of the holographic/electrical universe we live in is in order. Albert Einstein stated, "This reality is an illusion, albeit a very persistent one." Albert Einstein knew of this illusion, but the technology wasn't available to prove it. The sciences can now view these invisible worlds, and to understand our visible world around us, we need to understand the invisible. There is tons of literature on the web from leading astro, quantum, condensed matter, theoretical physicists, etc., that anyone can study. Many lectures can be viewed also online by these advanced leaders in their respective fields of physics and other disciplines that study the once invisible world. Here we go. The fields of theoretical physics and quantum mechanics have shown that subatomic particles know what's going to happen before it happens. These subatomic particles communicate with each other, whether they are a micron away from each other or a billion miles away in space. It's a real problem for classical establishment science. These subatomic particles communicate instantaneously, thus destroying Einstein's theory that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. It also means that physical objective reality, as we've been taught it, doesn't exist. It means that nothing is physically truly separate from anything else. A hologram is a 3-dimensional photograph made with a laser. It has side-to-side, up and down, and backward and forward, just as our own physical reality. Our brains are viewed by theoretical physicists and neurophysiologists as having holographic characteristics. Our thinking processes actually encode and decode millions of sound and light frequencies it encounters every day. Our brains convert this blur of frequencies into the, quote, solid world of our perceptions. A hologram does the same thing. Every piece of information in our memories is infinitely cross-connected with every portion of the brain. There is no singular area of the brain where information is stored. A hologram has the same intrinsic makeup. All of its parts are interconnected to produce the image. Our hard reality is created out of vibrations from whole spectrums of frequencies, in which our brain selects some of the frequencies and transforms them mathematically into sensory perceptions. This all means that hard reality doesn't exist. It also potentially says that everything we see, touch, taste, smell, and hear and sense in any way is an illusion. It's just like Einstein thought but didn't have the ability to prove. Did you know 3 trillion neutrinos pass through your body every minute of every day? These neutrinos are subatomic particles but do contain mass. If we were solid, we would look like Swiss cheese in no time. How about the double slit experiment in physics? It shows that the building blocks of the universe travel in waves until they are observed. The waves, upon being observed by someone or something, either a person, animal, or measuring device, then pop into time and space and take on the shapes of what we observe around us. When the waves are observed and turned into particles, this is known as collapsing the wave function. We'll stop there for now and keep this as simple as possible for this book, but pick up here in the next book. This is how prayer, thought, and intent changes things. I've already interfaced with your program in Chapter 4 with the globalist establishment Muslim agenda. What happened is that I needed to extrapolate to what the finished event would be for the whole Muslim migration event going on. I believe that was done with enough information, and most should see that now. Since the final intent of the establishment goal was discovered before the frequencies materialized in this dimension, it can be changed, at least for the United States. Europe looks too far gone in places, but who knows? So just by you reading this, like I said, if it's not written in stone, your prayer, thought, or intent on this topic will collapse the wave function, and the event will materialize different than the intent that the establishment had for it, thus saving many lives, hopefully. That's how you have the power to change things in your life and on the global scale. It sounds crazy, but that's our reality. When will the establishment institutions tell us any of this for practical application? More than likely never. Everything in this book flies in the face of reality as the establishment wishes any of us to know it. It serves their purpose to keep telling us we come from pond scum and monkeys. That's establishment education. They are good for one thing, though. When any of them speak on a topic, turn around 180 degrees and start your research there. It is then that you will find the truth in the matter you seek. Just like Mr. Trump says about the media and establishment government, they are liars or it's all lies. Donald Trump tells it like it is with those two institutions. The rest of them are no different. Chapter 7. Huge experiment. Well, okay, it's not huge, but it's at least fun. But for some people it will be huge because they never knew they did this. But all of us have done this since we were born. This is how we attract friends, a mate, etc. For those we don't like, we feel a repelling from, and the thought comes to mind, I really don't like this person, or they are such a turnoff. It's what a first impression is all about. This works in our personal life for watching movies or television, even a photo or painting, as I will throw out examples in later chapters of tests that my wife and I do all the time. It will help someone understand better the later chapters, such as frequency bias, where we see 80% or more of Donald Trump's detractors are programs he is least compatible with. The example I will use is television. Many ancient civilizations taught this as occult knowledge. They didn't realize that they were actually doing proto-physics teachings. They didn't know of the invisible nano-worlds we can see today. They didn't know all matter at its base components was frequency and phonon sound. They could see their effects, though, and the terms used today is referred to as life paths, if you wish to do more research on them. There are 9 of them total. These are actually advanced holographic programs operating in this holographic imaging field, basically. The movie The Matrix wasn't too far-fetched. The way they interfaced with their virtual reality was quite primitive compared to our brain and crystalline protein structures in our DNA. At least that's what you can find when you study the nano world of the crystal protein sciences. We were born interfaced. This program, as I term it throughout the rest of the book, relates to our flesh that we can touch and our soul, which animates the flesh with thoughts, emotions, feelings, etc. We will deal with the spirit that is trapped in us in the next book. I heard Donald Trump in 2 speeches identify the spirit in us, but it went right over everyone's head because we are basically programmed in the opposite direction. He didn't realize the context he said it in, but he nailed it on the head. It's always around us and talked about in music, on television, etc. But this advanced holographic program is needed, is needed for the spirit to exist in this dimension, just like a diver needs a wetsuit and air tank to live in a water dimension. The day we were born into this dimension, the frequencies that are prevalent on each day are imprinted on this program that we call me, myself, and I. It gives us our likes, dislikes, strengths, weaknesses, and so much of whom we are. If the world's population is 7 billion, we would have between 700 to 800 million twins, as I like to call them. We look different but have virtually the same attributes and gravitate to the same types of jobs. We like similar music, etc. In the chapter Trump Twin coming up, you will see what president is returning from history and his wife. Not only that, but 5 other people from this historical election returned to the 2016 election. I found this history repeating itself the first day I looked at it in the first week of February, and no one has found it yet, and it's now March 22nd. Well, it's now October 10th, and no one still has found any of it. And back to the book here. So if this stuff seems like it came from Banana Land, by the time you get to the final chapter, I bet a lot of people will come back and reread this chapter because this is the basis for how you find history repeating itself. Now finally, the experiment. Take a piece of paper and pen, write your birthday, say it's 5/23/1965. Throughout the rest of the book, there will be a lot of dates, and I'll always read the month, the day, then the year. So say it's 5/23/1965. You simply add up all the numbers together, you get 31. Then you add 3 plus 1 equals a 4. So that would be a 4 program. A harder one would be, say, 9/13/1952 equals 39. 3 plus 9 equals 12. And then you take 1 plus 1, and that equals 3. So that would be a 3 program. If you want to see how exact you are to your program, just put in a search Life Path 4 information, or whatever number you come up with. Usually you will see the write-ups are on astrology or numerology sites, but most do a decent job. That's what I mean when I said ancient occult teachings. They didn't realize that they were just dealing with frequencies and how they interact with each other. Your program should be between 60 to 90% correct. My 5 program runs about 90% as it should. Donald Trump's, as you will see in the chapter Trump program, is about 90% also. There are 2 things I found that can change our programming. These are traumatic experiences or those whom raise us or we are married to for years or are close to us for years. They imprint on our programs. So once you simply have your program number, then you think of your favorite television show, say it's Arrow. Then simply put in the search TV series Arrowcast. You will find the individual cast members. You should find their birthdays, usually on Wiki or IMDb. Then do the same thing with their birthdays as you did with yours to get the single-digit number between 1 and 9. You will want to do the top 5 to 7 actors or actresses in the show. Here's a chart to compare your results with. Other researchers will have slightly different compatibility matchups with their life paths, which I term programs. I sometimes do between 100 and 150 birthdays a day if I'm researching a certain topic to see how these programs are interacting. This is the best program matchups that I've found across all spectrums, whether it's sports, political, daily life, entertainment, etc. All you have to do is find the number program and read straight across, and you will be able to understand a lot about how we interact with each other. Also, why things happen the way they do, and find history repeating itself. If you didn't do the experiment, I will put my latest explanation on TV shows that I did for someone to show them how their program interfaces with other programs, even on TV. I did it by text, so I can just go word for word from the text to use an example. I asked this lady for her 2 favorite TV shows. I told her that I would tell her which show she liked more and what her least favorite and most favorite characters are. She had no clue of the way I did what I'm showing you here. She lives 2,500 miles away. She sent as her 2 favorite shows Desperate Housewives and Brothers and Sisters, neither of which I ever watched and never heard of the second one. The lady I did this for is running an 8 program. I looked up the cast of Desperate Housewives first and found the top 7 actors and actresses' birthdays and changed them to programs. I then did Brothers and Sisters' top 8 actors and actresses the same way. I sent back the text with the character's name instead of the actor's or actress's name and their program only, along with the compatibility to her 8 program. Desperate Housewives is Gabrielle is a 4, most compatible. Susan was a 4, most compatible. Bree was a 1, neutral, either good or bad. Lynette was a 3, neutral, either good or bad. Mike, a 4, was most compatible. Edie, 6, okay to good. Mary is an 8, most compatible. And then I did Brothers and Sisters. Kitty was a 6 program, okay to good. Nora, a 1, neutral, either good to bad. Justin is a 5, least compatible. Sarah is a 9, least compatible. Scotty is a 2, most compatible. Holly was a 5, least compatible. Robert was a 4, most compatible. I went on to tell her that her program has been interfacing with others, even on television, since she's been born. Until someone explains it, no one will realize it. I told her that Desperate Housewives was her favorite show of the 2 shows, and that her least favorite characters were Bree and Lynette. I told her that Brothers and Sisters was a weaker show because of the least compatibles that were on it, but there were still more most compatibles that obviously attracted her. I told her that Kitty, Kevin, Scotty, and Robert were why she watched the show, and that she couldn't stand Justin, Holly, or Sarah. Patty, the lady I did this for, texted back pretty much spot on. That is the end of that painfully boring chapter to write. I hope it was okay for you to listen to or to read if you got the book. I just want everyone to know how to do this. It can help you a lot in life. That way you can find the incredibly fascinating things when history repeats itself, like with Donald Trump. The Trump Program. Chapter 8. The Trump Program. Finally, back to the hero of the story, Donald Trump. As with the 8 other programs available, Mr. Trump has between 700 and 800 million twins, as I call them, on this planet, with Earth's population being 7 billion. Although not many run the program that is as pronounced as Mr. Trump's is. Before I do his birthday, I first came to find interest in Mr. Trump when I read that he said Hillary and Obama created ISIS with their policies, which we already looked at. But I went home that night from work, and while changing, I asked my wife to find a photo of Mr. Trump. Let's see if we can tell what program he is running. We do this all the time for fun and to confirm what reality is and prove we as programs can detect what others' programs are. There's a little more to it, but that's in the next book. My wife guessed one of his most compatible programs, if I remember correctly, which put her in the ballpark and was good for someone just learning. I looked at the photo, couldn't feel any attraction or repelling. It was just there. I knew right away he was either a 4 or a 9 program. As a 5 program, I have a natural neutral 9 program, and a 4 program is neutral also. A 4 program should be at least compatible to me, if you check the compatibility chart I gave, but since my mom is a 4 program, that moves a 4 program from a least compatible to a neutral or a little better for me personally. I told my wife, Mr. Trump is a 4 or 9 program. We then looked up Mr. Trump's birthday. It is 6/14/1946. It equals 4. Mr. Trump is a 4 program, just as I thought. If you notice on the compatibility chart, a 4 program has the least amount of programs it attracts and repels the most. In the next chapter, we will look at his detractors through frequency bias, which they have at the quantum level, and they don't even realize it. 80% or more of his attackers are repelled by a 4 program to begin with. All Mr. Trump has to do is open his mouth and All Mr. Trump has to do is open his mouth about anything to elicit a negative response from them. As I said in a previous chapter, Mr. Trump runs about 90% true to his program. It's really good and easily detectable. My mom, whom is also a 4 program, says she only runs about 60% of the core program, making it harder to detect that she's running a 4 program at all. This actually sounds like it was written for Donald Trump, but you can search LifePath 4 information and see basically the same write-up many places. Here is that 4 program. The 4 program enters this dimension as a builder and has an innate ability to plan, fix, and make things work. They have the ability to conceive of magnificent, expansive ideas and see them through to completion. If they work for it, they can achieve fame and success. These people trend toward being entrepreneurs and managers. They have a willpower that can be mistaken for stubbornness. They have direct speech that comes across as unrelenting. Once they decide on something, their willpower will see it through to completion. They are set in their ways and handle matters as they deem they should be handled. They possess a drive and ability for accomplishing tasks that border fixation. They possess great managerial skills. They view all aspects of life with a common-sense approach. They have the drive of a perfectionist in the work they do. They often establish a to-do list. They are at their best when adversity sets in with many problems that accompany it. Friends are few in number, but when a friendship is forged, it can be for life. They are the most dependable person they know. Other traits that can appear in this program are inflexibility, conservative, jealousy, envy, or frugality. I think that advanced holographic program Mr. Trump has running is just doing great. He can't help others are offended at the quantum level. I can always tell the least compatible programs to mine, but I don't let it affect me. I can deal with any program on their programming level. This type of knowledge really gives anyone the advantage in dealing with other people. You really do know more about most people than they know about themselves and can therefore benefit others, and they don't even know it. If they were serious about stopping, say, bullying in schools, they could easily do the research and see that over 80% of bullying in schools and anywhere is because of frequency bias. Why isn't any of this studied and applied in real life? The answer is the establishment wants to keep us all divided by color, position, ideology, wealth, gender, etc. Excuse me. They will laugh at and destroy research like this because it is a common-sense approach to many of society's ills. The same reason they try to destroy Donald Trump. He has many answers to this country's ills. Mr. Trump is a unifier, but unfortunately many will refuse to be unified because of their frequency bias against him. I looked at frequency favoritism and found Mr. Trump reaches across all frequency barriers, his least compatible programs, more than any other candidate, and he will continue to have to do this if he has any hope of winning the general election. As an example, I did a quick sampling of 20 random endorsers of Ted Cruz. I found what I thought. Out of the 20 samples I did, 17 were okay to good or most compatible. He only had 3 that were least compatible. Mr. Cruz has more people/programs that are attracted to his 6th program, and only pulling 15% of his least compatibles. Mr. Trump is pulling between 30 to 40% of his least compatible programs, and that's really good. He has a message everyone needs to hear, but many still can't because of their frequency bias against him.